Hi guys, welcome to this week's edition of Friday Freebies. It's John here. It's already October. Wow, the year's flying by. This week's session, we're going to take a look at some hints and tips on how to look at your data in the system in Xpos and potentially coming into the sort of autumn winter period, how to look at tidying up your data. A bit of a spring clean really. So winter time is potentially when you guys are a little bit more hot on stock taking. A little bit daunting sometimes when you might take a look at your data and it's not quite as clean, or maybe you've got a lot of products in your system that are historical products. You want to get in a nice place where stock takes are nice and quick and easy to do, but also when you're looking at your data and you're looking at your stock, it all makes sense and it's easy to understand. So I'm going to take a look at some different areas in the system, and hopefully some of those will give you some really good tips on getting started. And by all means, pop an email to myself or hello at Xpos for some more information on this. Okay, so let's get started. So first of all, we're going to take a look at some products in my system here. So we're going to take a look at some items, and I'll give you some different scenarios. So one big thing with stock, it's great having your stock valuations and Xpos and all your figures that you can work from. But if those figures are maybe distorted because you've got the wrong stock quantities, so maybe negative stock, that's something to look out for. So a really quick way of searching for any negative stock in your system. So if we go into the product screen, now what I'm going to do in my system, I'm going to open up my filter on the right-hand side here. Then what we're going to do, we're going to select out of stock. Now, because my data isn't too big, I'm actually going to run this for everything in my system. But for you guys, you might want to play around with looking at a particular brand or subgroup or multiple subgroups. So maybe first off, start with something easy like golf bags and just have a look at that. But I'm just going to load everything today to show you what this looks like. So I'm just doing out of stock and apply filter. Now, this has loaded all products that are out of stock. Now, this quantity shows 0, but there might actually be some negative stock there. So let's have a look by clicking on variant. So first of all to do is, well, again, this has just showed the variants of all these items. To put them in some sort of order, we're going to click on the stock button at the top. So what this is going to do now, it's going to put it in the order that shows us any items in a negative with the highest quantity first. So as you can see, I've got minus 44 of that product here, that towel. So the reason it showed a quantity which was different on the main screen is because if you've got 5 items in stock, but then something else in that range, you've got -2, you have physically got 5 in the shop. So it shouldn't really reflect in the total quantity. It shouldn't say 3 because you have physically got that stock. So that's why you do have to click variant view to see the full picture. So here we can see we've got these items. I mean, if you wanted to do some sort of investigations from these, I would select the item and then you've got the product history report here. So that's really, really useful because that will give you an idea of why that item's in a negative. So it'll show when it was stocked in, when it was sold, any returns within the date range that you select, and it'll give you a really clean picture of why is it in a negative. It'll show the sale price as well. So that's a biggie for me because if the sale price is different on some of the sales to others, it might be a clear picture that someone sold the wrong item, changed the price to make it sell through at what they needed to sell. In my particular system here, because I've got so many negative stock items, I would definitely be stock taking at this point. If you only had a couple of items, by all means, you could manually count. So I'll give you an idea here. This is just a one-off item, this towel. So I've gone away now and I've counted and I've actually got 6 towels in stock. So if I didn't want to stock take and I just want to deal with that one item today, I can from this screen now, if we go back out of here, so undo variant view. So I know it's the towel that I need. So I'll pop the item in. So what we're going to do now is stock the product in. Now, at this point, because I can see it's -44, I've actually got, as I said, I've got 5 in stock in front of me. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to stock 49 in and then complete that. So you can see now that I've got 5 in stock because I had -44 and I stocked in the additional, which is actually my stock quantity. So it's erased the negative stock and I've actually got the correct stock. So you can deal with individual items like I've just done by stocking in whatever's the negative plus the additional. So what's actually in stock plus minus. So you've got 10 of something in stock, you're showing -5 in the system, you'd need to stock in 15. But as I mentioned, if this is quite a broad negative stock in your system, hopefully it isn't, but if it is, then I would definitely recommend, for example, if it was something to do with gloves and there was quite a lot of discrepancies, stock take your gloves, it'll be far quicker because that will then correct and update. So when you complete a stock take, it would then update in the system to be your current stock would be what you posted on the stock take. Okay, then, so the next one we're going to look at, this one's a little bit more, how do you deal with maybe some historical data errors. So what I mean by that is maybe, I'll give you an example here. So I'm going to load up my green fees here. So we're just going to look for green fees, like so. Now, green fees are something of what we call maybe like a service product. So what we'll find with green fees is that generally there's no stock against green fees. So, and also the sort of cost price is 0. So something to mention, I mean, you can see here my stock is 0, but if you're finding on your reports that green fees, higher products like trolleys and buggies or lessons are coming up with a cost price in there, you can actually edit a product now and you can change it and just tick 0 cost price. If I just go by variant view here, I'm just going to show. So what you'll find is I've got this green fee here that when this product was created, it wasn't made 0 stock. So it means that basically it's going to sell like a normal shop product, which I don't want it to. So how do you tackle that item then? So how do you deal with something there? So obviously what I don't want to do is stock it back to 0 because there's no physical stock for a green fee. So really the only kind of way you can do this is to actually archive that item and then create a new item. But there's one little tip here. If you archive an item and create exactly the same item again, it'll cause issues down the road. So what you need to do first is edit the product, the one you need to archive, and then put a little character after the item just to make this distinguishable. I mean, I'm actually just going to copy that item there. But you can see I've put the number 1 here. And then what I'm going to do, I've made a note of all the prices, so £30 and what have you. I'm going to save the item. But now what I'm going to do is select it once more. You can see now I've got a number next to it, number 1, and I'm going to archive that item. What that means now is when I create that item a second time, I can now pick all the same characteristics I had before. But this time I'm going to make it 0 stock and 0 cost. So I've got 0 stock in this time, which basically just means that, just make sure I've got that right in here. So as you can see now, I've just put the item in with my correct sale price, cost price is obviously 0. And also now there's no stock in there because I've changed it to 0 stock. So that's just a way. I know that sometimes people have created items in the past and it's just, you might have green fees, lessons or something, or higher products in minus quite a big number. Obviously, if they've got a couple of pence in as cost price, because again, in old versions of Xpos, you couldn't put 0 cost in, you had to put a penny in. It might actually affect some sales reports in a small way. So it is actually really useful now to be able to put 0 cost in, 0 cost in and 0 stock in as well. So there's a couple of little hints on that one. Right, we're going to move away from the items now, and we're going to look at the sort of groups area of the system. So what do I mean by that? So this is where a product, for example, like a golf bag, would go into either stand bags or trolley bags, and then you might have categories like golf clubs that men's drivers would go into a subgroup men's drivers, ladies driver category. They then feed into a group called clubs. That way is you can get an overall figure for the whole business to say clubs made this amount of money, it was this percentage of the business. But then when you break it down, you can see what type of clubs, like subgroup wise. So men's clubs made up 30% of sales in clubs, putters made up this percent. And then when it comes to buy-in and stock and what have you, understanding what percentage of your stock you can give to, sort of sales area space or, monetary value, what you're spending on stock, you can account for it because you know that that's the revenue that based on previous sales history, that's how that product performs. The one big thing is if people again have moved from older versions of Xpos, sometimes you might not have used Xcodes before, so you might have created your own subgroups. And then once you start using Xcodes in cloud, which is where you zap the barcode and it brings the manufacturer's details in, you might end up with duplicate suppliers or duplicate subgroups. So, or it might just be you've created your own and you realize that you've got duplicates. So sometimes you might have created like trolley hire, and then you might have something called hire, and you've got two of the same thing. So to deal with that, we're going to go in settings, products, and we're going to go here into groups. Now in here, you've got the departments in the business in Xpos. So I've got two. I've got golf course, which is the revenue for somebody else for the green fees and buggies. Then I've got golf shop. Now under golf shop, you've got all the product categories. So as we can see, most of these are that little logo there is Xcodes. But then we've got one here called custom fit, which has only got driver custom. But I know in my system, I've actually got quite a few custom subgroups. But what's happened is by accident, the person who did these for me actually put them into a while back. They put them into clubs. So how does that affect you? Well, the downside here is if a product is in a category that's maybe, you've got duplicates or it's the wrong category. Okay, if you stock takes by the whole shop, that's not a problem. But if we stock take clubs, we're going to end up having to try and work out what clubs we need to stock take. And then if you were doing custom fit, again, you've only got the one category in there rather than the other custom categories, because obviously we've only got one category here. So it is really worthwhile trying to make sure that the right categories are in, subgroups are in the right groups. Okay, so we can see here then we've got custom hybrid that we actually need to move that into custom fit. So what we're going to do is you've got a couple of options. So edit is what we're going to do first. We're going to edit that product. And then what we're going to do is change the product group from clubs to custom fit. And what we should find now is that disappears out. I'm going to do the same for irons. And I'm just going to double check and see if we've got any more. We've got wedges custom as well. So really, really quick, really easy to do. So if we notice now, all of the clubs here, the custom ones are moved out. So if we go into the custom fit product group, we'll now see all the different categories. So the benefit there now is if I'm doing a stock take for custom fit, all of the products I'm expecting to find are in the right place. This will really save you a lot of time when it comes to stock taking. Another one for you then, we're just going to look at, let's go into bags here. So we've got a random category called bags here, which I know that this was designed a while ago. That was just all of my stand bags were placed in there that I created myself. But since then, I've been using Xcodes, and stand and trolley have got their own categories. So this time, rather than edit and change the product group, what we're going to do is going to use this merge button. The merge button allows you to merge one subgroup into another. So this is probably the one that you're going to use the most, to be fair. So I know that I need to move bags into stand bags. And then there we go. We've now got a nice, neat and tidy stand and trolley bags because the other bags have all gone. So all those products in the category bags will have now moved into stand bags with that. So again, when it comes to stock taking, I'm not having to select different categories or subgroups or groups. I can just clearly pick the one I want. One final one for you, very similar one, but food and drink. I can see on here that I've got cola, but then I've also got confectionery and drink. So cola should actually be into drink. So what we can do is merge cola into drink. And it's just much easier now because all my drinks are all in one place. So I can do a stock take either by food and drink, or I could break it down and I could do my confectionery or my drinks. Food and drink, their VAT, I would keep separate just because of that's got a different VAT rate in. But you can see really, really easy to do. A couple of little hints and tips there, guys. I hope you guys get some benefit from some of those ideas there. Definitely negative stock is worth looking out for because I think that's one of those biggies this time of year now. We've had a really busy summer and it just happens that some of the stock sometimes gets a little bit mixed up. So it's really worthwhile stock taking. But I think if you follow some of those principles that I've given you today before you do a stock take, you'll find your stock takes are much quicker and more accurate. Well, have a great weekend, guys. If you've got any questions, you can contact me at john.williams@xpos.co.uk. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend. Bye.